welcome back to Mzansi True Crime Diva. My name is Diva and I am back with another murder story as promised. Today's story is about Nina Olivier, who's a woman who decided to kill a man because he wouldn't love her back. This is definitely the first of its kind on my channel. I've not yet covered a female killer, so today I'll be doing so. Before we get into it, I need to let you all know that this is a crime story. It is horrific, it is horrendous. I'll be graphically describing a violence that is true, that has actually happened. And yes, I'll be talking about a murder, so it's a very sensitive topic. And today's case also does deal with a little bit of mental health issues. So if you find it a bit triggering, please rather watch this video over here. Please do not forget to stay tuned to the very end of the video where I show you guys a sliding show of people who are currently missing in South Africa. And don't forget to check out the description box for Lifeline, Helpline, any suicide crisis lines, and CRIMESTOP. All those very helpful contact details are in the description box down below. Now, Nina Olivier was a Brazilian-born woman who came to South Africa in 1966. She then met a man by the name of Georg Olivier, and then they got married and they had 2 kids, and they lived with their children in Heather Park in George. Georg had a colleague by the name of Guillaume, who was a single father of a 5-year-old boy. Guillaume had become concerned for his son's well-being. He felt that his son was not receiving the much-needed motherly love that a boy of his age needed. He also really needed someone to take care of his son after preschool when he was still at work. And so Georg proposed that Nina takes care of Guillaume's son. They had a meeting where they made these arrangements, and everyone seemed to be pleased with the arrangements. And so Guillaume would leave his son with Nina and her 2 kids, and then he'd fetch them whenever he was done with work. One day, about 2 weeks into this arrangement, when Guillaume came to fetch his son, things started getting a bit weird. As he entered the residence, Nina suddenly pushed him to the back of the door, and she looked into his eyes and started professing her love to him. Mind you, this is all happening within earshot of where Georg is in the house. She's looking at him. She's starting to tell him that, you know, she loves him so deeply and that she feels so strongly for him, and that it's just, yeah, she just starts confessing all her romantic feelings for him. Now, Guillaume just decides to ignore all of this. He decided that maybe if he pretends that that never happened, that Nina would do the same. This didn't help at all. Nina did not do the same. Instead, she started writing him letters, love notes, and she even wrote him a poem. Then Guillaume decided to finally acknowledge her feelings and her attempts, but then he decided to politely decline them. He tried his best to be as nice as possible, as he explained that he simply is not interested. You know, he respected her as his colleague's wife, and so he had never given her any romantic consideration. This didn't work at all, and one day Nina actually showed up at Guillaume's house, and then he managed to chase her away. But then on another occasion, she followed him in her car on the highway. The letters that she started writing grew more and more desperate. She started telling him that she would do anything for him. She started telling him that her love is forever, that the feelings that she has for him will last forever. And that's when Guillaume decided that he needed to get the lawyers involved. And so he approached his lawyers and then asked them to write a letter to her prohibiting her from communicating with him any further. Nina not only ignored this letter, but she continued writing more letters, and the letters took a rather dark turn. She started telling him that she's sterile and that she's not willing to have any kids unless they are his. She started telling him that she's willing to even give up her son for him. She even informed him that she's not a slut and that whenever she has sex, she gives it her all. Then there was a work Christmas function where Guillaume started hearing rumors about Nina and Georg's divorce. He realized that the word on the streets was that he was the reason behind the divorce. that's when he decided that he's going to have to inform Christo about the situation that he had been in with Nina. He organized a meeting with himself, his boss, and Christo, and then he made a phone call to Nina, telling her that he's not interested in her, that she should stop with her advances. And on the phone, Nina was heard saying that she's never gonna stop, that she's in love, She just continued being desperate and pursuing Guillaume. After this, Guillaume made the decision that whatever letter he receives from her, he's going to show Christo. And the letters that he started receiving were more threatening this time. She started telling him that she hopes that a big shark bites him, and she said that she intends on still getting him and his son. And it's still quite unclear exactly what she meant by that. Now, the following year, in 1991, Christo had had enough of Nina and decided to file for divorce. It was for this reason that Nina approached the lawyer by the name of Georg Kellerman. Now, Georg was a divorce lawyer based in Georgia. He had graduated from the Stellenbosch University, and he was single. His children lived with his ex-wife in Hout Bay. He had been practicing law in Georgia for about 15 years. He was also a highly respected member of the community. He was a secretary of Circle 4 of the Law Society and district leader of the National Party. He had earned himself a really good reputation because he had protected some residents from forced removals at the Livercorp informal settlement. He also assisted with development of educational facilities in Thembalethu and Pacalsdorp. He also assisted in the development of local negotiating forums prior to the 1994 elections, and he was also an active member of FAM-SA. Now, Georg agreed to assist Nina with the divorce proceedings. As they prepared for the proceedings, they developed a friendship which was allowed to continue after the divorce was finalized. However, Georg started becoming rather uncomfortable with the friendship that had developed. He found that Nina was visiting too frequently, and he also realized that she had started rumors about some hot and passionate romance that had been going on between the two of them. And so he decided to have a conversation with her, letting her know that he no longer wished to be friends with her because the rumors that had been circulating were posing a very serious threat to his reputation as an upstanding member of the community. When he realized that the conversation he had had with her was not working at all, he wrote her a formal letter formally terminating the friendship between the two of them, and he also advised her to seek professional help as he had believed that she had seriously become obsessed with him. Now, instead of Nina taking this letter seriously or his dismissal seriously, she actually showed up at his house on the 18th of August 1991. She showed up with demands of getting married. When he refused, she took out her .38 Smith & Wesson and said, "Well then, I do not have a choice." Georg attempted to calm her down. He decided to go and fetch her a glass of water, and as he was getting the water, he realized that the pistol was now lying on his back, that Nina had placed it on his back. She then went on to put her hands in the front of his trouser, and she began fondling him. Georg managed to overpower her, and then he called a magistrate friend of his, and then the police were summoned, and then Nina was taken in. On the 2nd of October 1992, Nina appeared at the George Magistrate Court. She was charged with malicious damage to property, indecent assault, common assault, as well as the pointing of her firearm. She gave her version of the events of what happened on that day, claiming that her and Georg had been in a sexually intimate relationship and that her hands were in his trousers in the ordinary course thereof. Georg vehemently denied this claim. She claimed that on the day she had come to ask him why he wasn't taking their relationship further and marrying him. She claimed that when her hands were in his trousers and she was fondling him, he just stood there and enjoyed it, and that it was only after some time that he moved away, and then he pointed down and said to her, you see, what you're doing is not causing much of a reaction for me. The judge then accepted Nina's claim that her and Georg had been in a sexually intimate relationship, but he accepted Georg's version of events of what happened on that day, and so Nina was found guilty of 3 of the 4 charges. She was also found unfit to carry a firearm. Now, this upset Nina very much, especially because she was found guilty of indecent assault, and she maintained that there was a sexually intimate relationship between the 2 of them, and according to her, her hands were in his trousers out of love, and she decided to appeal against the conviction. For 4 months after the conviction, Nina continued making Georg's life a living hell. She would sit in her car outside of his workplace, just staring in, and she would also tell people about the ongoing romantic relationship between the 2 of them, and she continued writing letters to Georg. He then obtained a restraining order against her, and on the 23rd of February, Nina contravened a provision in this restraining order, and Georg later charged against her with the police. She then appeared again at the George Magistrate Court, where she was released on 50 Rand bail, and then appeared on the court on the 14th of April. She admitted to contravening a provision in the restraining order, and then she was given 2,000 Rand fine or 8 months imprisonment. Nina had learned a lot about litigation from Georg when they were still busy with the divorce proceedings, and she started using what she had learned against Georg. After being convicted for contravening a provision in the restraining order, she laid a charge of theft against him. She claimed that she was not able to get documents regarding the hand in trouser case, which prevented her from suing for defamation. On the 12th of May, the High Court agreed with Nina's grounds of appeal. They decided that since it was agreed that they were in a sexually intimate relationship, then that it's understandable why her hands were in his trousers, and so they found her not guilty of the indecent assault. They also decided that she was fit to carry a firearm. Not only that, they also decided that she needed to carry a firearm because she had moved to an informal small holding in Sarsveld, which was known to have high crime rates, and so they decided that she does in fact need her gun. Georg pleaded with the police commissioner to revoke her license. He even went as far as making misrepresentations that she was not allowed to carry her firearm, but the police had no other choice but to give it back to her. Nina continued to torment Georg. She hired out a film titled Till Murder Do Us Part. It's about a woman scorned who ends up killing her husband. The story in that movie is actually based on a true story. It's about an LA socialite who meets a lawyer, and then they fall in love and they get married, and then they move to a place called La Jolla, where the lawyer starts his practice, and then it begins thriving. And they also have children in the marriage. But then the husband meets a younger blonde woman, and he decides to leave the marriage for that woman. And then the ex-wife rather, starts sending threatening messages, leaving threatening voice messages on the telephone, until eventually one day she showed up at their house with a .38 Smith & Wesson, and she shot both of them dead. Georg decided to take in a permanent guest in his house, a lady by the name of Kiron. He hoped that Nina would get the impression that, he has another woman in his life and that this would maybe deter her. Obviously, this did not work. And from the 8th of August, Georg and his guest started receiving more and more calls from Nina. On the 10th of August, he received a call from his ex-wife's house in Hout Bay. And although the call was made by his ex-wife's fiance, he realized that Nina was on the other line. This angered Georg on another level because he realized that Nina had come into close proximity with his children, so he was extremely angry about this. Over the phone, she told him that if he withdrew the charges, she would officially leave him alone, but Georg was just not interested in giving in to threats. Meanwhile, in Georg's house, for added safety measures, they put a whistle next to the telephone so that whoever answered and realized that Nina was on the other line would blow on it and alert the other. During dinner time, they removed the receiver so that they could eat their dinner and watch TV in peace. They even installed an electric gate and an electric fence. They were never allowed to open the windows. He then laid 7 charges against her for each of the 7 violations of the interdict. Now, Nina became aware that she could end up in jail if the suspended sentence from April became reinforced with a new one. On the 11th of November 1993, she appeared in the George Magistrate Court yet again. This time she had submitted several letters to the court. One of them was addressed to President F.W. de Klerk and another was addressed to the Commissioner of Police. She claimed that she had not been assisted by investigators with regards to a call that she had received by a man who claimed to be at Witwolf. She also complained about police badgering. The contempt of court case was postponed to the 1st of December and then again to the 25th of February 1994. On the 25th of February, Georg testified that Nina had contravened the interdict 7 times between the 8th of August and the 14th of August because he had received 7 calls from her. He had recorded these calls and he was heard in the transcripts saying that he was extremely angry that she had come into such close proximity to her children when he visited his ex-wife's house in Hout Bay. He also told her that by doing so, she had triggered the dangerous man within him. He informed her that he found it purely nonsensical that she had hired the film Till Murder Do Us Part under his name. And the magistrate court couldn't find anything substantial enough to rule in Georg's favor because in 6 of the 7 calls, it was really just Nina's word against Georg. And on the 7th call, it was Georg's ex-wife's fiance who had made that call. At the trial, Nina even submitted a medical report of an abortion that she had undergone, claiming that it was that of Georg's child. And Georg vehemently denied this because he maintained that he had never been sexually intimate with her. The case was postponed to the 15th of April. But then half an hour later, Georg left the court and went to a battery shop in Hibernia. While he was there, he was busy chatting to someone and he didn't notice as he was entering the shop that Nina's car was parked just outside. To his shock, he looked to the entrance and realized that Nina had been standing there. And this completely shocked him because he just came out of court fighting for this woman to stop stalking him, and there she was within close proximity of him yet again. He then decided to call the police, informing them that she was there and that she had a firearm with her and that they needed to come immediately to take her in. By the time he put down the phone, Nina had come into such close range with Georg. She then fired 5 shots at him, 2 on the upper arms and 3 to his chest. She then ordered everyone in the shop to exit or else she will shoot, and she stopped anyone from getting any medical assistance for Georg. She spoke to Van Heerden while holding the pistol to her head. She was saying things like, "He's dead, he's lying next to me." She said that she no longer wanted to live, that they had made her life a living hell, that they had taken her children away from her. She started telling him that Georg had seduced her while they were busy with the divorce proceedings and that he later lured her to his home where they began having a sexually intimate relationship. Van Heerden tried to convince her to hand herself over for 45 minutes, and he was joined by her neighbor, the lawyer named Henry Lerm. They eventually calmed her down and convinced her to allow a psychiatrist as well as a bishop into the shop. 3 hours after the shooting at 8 o'clock, she finally handed herself over with hundreds of people watching. Some people claim that they had seen her unbuttoning Georg's shirt and stroking his chest. Nina was admitted in the George Hospital in the psychiatric ward, and the following day the nurses received a rather strange call from a man, and the man started saying that they can guard her all they want, but her life was in far more danger than the danger that she put Georg in. She appeared the next Monday at the magistrate court again, and then she was referred to the Lettighier psychiatric hospital. So now the trial that had been postponed was still ongoing, but police had to start preparing for a new trial for the murder case. After several postponements, on the 6th of May, she appeared at the George Magistrate Court. It was alleged that she had made threats to 5 people: her former husband Christo, Guillaume, George's permanent guest, Nico Smith, who was a former prosecutor in one of her cases, as well as Ben McLachlan, who was the man that she believed was the victim who had called her. The investigating officer, Major Cooper, testified that Nina had threatened Georg before. He testified that she had told Georg that either she ties him to a bed and fucks him by candlelight, or she's going to blow out her own brains. When Nina heard this testimony, she responded by holding a firearm against her head, and then a policeman had to restrain her, and this caused a lot of commotion in the court. Dr. Maurice Merkner, who was the head of psychiatry at the Lettighier psychiatric unit, testified that Nina had suffered from a personality disorder that needed to be treated. He was unable to make the diagnosis of erotomania because he wasn't fully capable of finding out the full truth about the nature of the relationship between herself and Georg. He also testified that Nina's father had abused her as a child. He testified that there had been some incest in the family and that a member from outside of the family had attempted to molest her when she was still a child. On the 19th of May, she was found not guilty for the 7 charges that Georg had laid against her for contravening the interdict. Upon hearing this, Nina began beating the dog with fist. She then rushed to her lawyer and smacked his arm, and then she shrieked at him. In the prison bars, she beat her head against the bars so hard that she ended up having to receive hospital treatment for that. And on the 21st of August, when her lawyer and neighbor Henry Lehmann withdrew from the case, she submitted her own handwritten application for bail yet again, using litigation methods that Georg had taught her. On the 28th of November, Guillaume testified about his experience with Nina, as well as Kieron, the permanent guest that Georg had taken in, the changes that had to be made to the household in order to add to the safety measures. And she also testified about how things were just not peaceful when they wanted to eat or wanted to watch TV, and that they had to put a whistle next to the phone, just all the things that Nina put them through. Then on the 3rd of November, Nina submitted her 3rd application for bail. And then the doctor that had been evaluating her, Dr. Magna, submitted a 6-page letter that he had received from Nina. Nina wrote, "I want to see you when you come back here. I want your arms around me, and I want you to tell me that everything will be all right, even after the allegations that you made about me in court." She says, "You must not punish me for what happened to me as a child. You know that I'm serving a life sentence within myself. I will have to bear that cross for the rest of my life." Now, Nina responded to this submission by saying that Dr. Magna is the one who filled her head with the molestation that happened to her as a child, as well as the abuse she endured as a child, that was not a recollection of her own. She further denied any allegations regarding her suicide tendencies, claiming that she had only overdosed on pills as a publicity stunt. Her 3rd application for bail was denied, and a trial was postponed to the 13th of February. But before this, on the 22nd of January 1995, Nina was found dead in her cell. She had been hanging from her cell doors, and a strip of sheets was hanging around her neck. 3 letters were found as part of her suicide notes, and one of them was addressed to Dr. Magna, where she claimed that Dr. Magna reminded her of Georg. That brings us to the end of today's video, a first of its kind on our channel. Like I said, I have never done a female killer before, and yeah, this case really teaches us a lot about stalking. When this case happened and for several years thereafter, the only act that recognized stalking was the Domestic Violence Act, which required that there be a personal relationship between the stalker and the stalkee. No, this doesn't sound right, but anyway, it would require a personal relationship between the perpetrator and the victim in order for one to claim that they've been stalked or one to lay charges of having been stalked. But I believe that since then the criminal acts as well as the Sexual Offences Act have started recognizing stalking, and so there doesn't need to be an intimate relationship or a personal relationship. Let me know what you think about this case. Has anyone ever experienced stalking? Has anyone ever experienced an obsessive lover? Those can be very dangerous, guys. Like, it's not a joke. I'm sorry for laughing, but those can be seriously dangerous. Please stay tuned and watch the sliding show of people who are currently missing in South Africa. Thank you all for tuning in. I cannot wait to see you in the next video.